What's up, everyone? Matt here, and welcome to another episode of Down Once More. This week, I'm going to be talking all about Beetlejuice, the musical, or more affectionately known just simply as Beetlejuice, the musical. But I just saw the national tour just a couple hours ago. It's like midnight when I'm recording this, so bear with me if it's a little chaotic and all over the place. So I'm going to be giving my thoughts on that, and then there will be a few random things at the end of the episode. First off, I got a little bit roasted for this on the Shrek one when I said I was not a huge fan of the movie because I saw it much later in life and not growing up on it had a different vibe feel for me. That's how I feel about Beetlejuice the musical. I saw this for the first time a year or two ago. I didn't grow up on it. I didn't have that affinity for it. I felt like it was meh. Slightly disappointed. I think it was a little bit victim of being overhyped for me. People saying how great it was. I watched it, and a couple of my takeaways were I feel like Beetlejuice was barely in this movie. Like, I get it's a short movie. It was back before everything was 2.5 hours long. It's only about an hour and a half long. But I feel like Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice only has about 20 minutes of screen time. So, could be wrong. But that was my initial feelings when I watched it. I rewatched it earlier this week in anticipation of seeing the musical, and I had a lot of the same feelings. Now, it's been a point of discussion on here before, mainly with Brad and I, a little bit of contention there. My approach to musicals that I am unfamiliar with, so when I have the season pass for national tours that come through my area, for the Broadway season pass, I like to listen to the Broadway original cast recordings if it's available and familiarize myself with the music. For me, it helps kind of know the songs going into it. It helps me pick up on things because sometimes there's a little bit off with the mix where the vocals can get buried in the pit. And I like being able to know exactly what's going on, especially on musicals that are sung through. Beetlejuice the musical is not a musical that is sung through. So I listened to the cast recording ahead of this, and there were still so many surprises in store for me in this production. Because that's kind of Brad's opinion with it is I want to wait and I want to experience the musical in person or on screen like the writer director intended. There's a little bit nuances. If a movie exists of it where you already know the framework, then that's different. This, to me, after seeing it now, goes on my list of one of the best musical adaptations of a non-musical movie. And I've got a list I'll go through at the end. And it's oddly joins a group of there's two Winona Ryder movies that share that title as well, this and Heathers. So this musical is based on Tim Burton's 1988 film, which, like I said, starred Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara of Schitt's Creek and Home Alone fame. Those are the two things we'll refer to her from. But this musical, it features music and lyrics by Australian musical comedian Eddie Perfect, and the book is by Scott Brown and Anthony King. I have to say, they are kind of collaboration and work. The dialogue that is written, the meta moments, the fourth wall breaking, everything that goes on, the comedy, the humor, it hit for me. It worked. Maybe it's just where I was at tonight, because for comedy, it's one of those things. You kind of have to be in the right mood. But I've said on here, the Book of Mormon is the most I have laughed and the most fun time that I've had at a musical. Now, when I reviewed Moulin Rouge last month, I said that with the spectacle and just that experience was on a whole other level, but it's completely different than like Book of Mormon and this. These are comedy plays. The set is impressive. The cast, the staging, the choreography, also very impressive, but the humor is what stood out to me in this musical. And Eddie Perfect's music and lyrics are catchy. They're going to get stuck in your head when you listen to this, especially the main opening number, the whole being dead thing. So good. Alex Brightman originated the role on Broadway as Beetlejuice, and he is fantastic on the Broadway cast album. And the role of Beetlejuice, you got like a little bit of gravel to your voice, and I feel like it would be a difficult role to play. But on this national tour, Beetlejuice is played by Justin Collette, and he absolutely crushed it. Like, he gave what I think is maybe one of the best live musical theater performances I have seen on stage. Maybe one of the best performances on a stage I have seen, period. His reactions, his emotions, his portrayal of this character was fantastic, and you felt what he felt. His comedic timing was fantastic. Him getting the crowd energized, calling for them to applaud him in the opening number, closing. It was so good. I was so impressed with Justin Collette's performance, and it should be. He is a Broadway actor. He played Dewey Finn in School of Rock, the musical, on Broadway. Also following up, Alex Brightman originated the role of Dewey Finn in School of Rock on Broadway. So, something to follow. Alex Brightman was there. Justin Collette may be there to just absolutely crush the role after him. The other really impressive performance to me was by Madison Mosley, who plays Lydia in this performance. In her bio in the playbill, not really any credits to her name, but she was fantastic. Her voice was beautiful. She played the character so well, made it her own, kept some of Winona Ryder's kind of mannerisms and that darkness of how that character is written, but made a completely unique and new performance, and held her own as a scene partner with Justin Collette. This Broadway veteran who has this experience and is just an over-the-top character. She, like I said, she held her own, and it was so impressive, and they worked so well together and fed off each other. I was seriously impressed by her in this role. Now, we did have the understudy for Adam Maitland in it. He was played by Mark Ginsburg in this performance, and he was fantastic. I'm sure the main actor is great, but Mark Ginsburg, so good in this role. This tour, Justin Collette's performance and Madison Mosley's vocal performance is enough to make you, even if you don't like Beetlejuice, you're not familiar with it, the musical is completely different. I will tell you that. I did not love the movie. I loved the musical. Like, I would go see this again tomorrow. That's how fun this was, and how catchy the musical is, and how talented this cast is. It's also a little bit of a different vibe. Like I said, it's a bit crass. It's not R-rated, but close. I guess technically there's more than one use of fuck, so it would be R-rated. But a little bit of history on the musical. It started with, there was a tryout they did in Washington, D.C. at the National Theater in October of 2018. And then it opened on Broadway in April 2019. It shut down in 2020 with COVID, and then reopened in 2022 with Alex Brightman coming back to play the role of Beetlejuice. At the end of 2022, in December, is when it started its national tour run. And it's been going now. It was nominated for 8 Tonys, including Best Musical, but it did not win a single Tony, sadly. But I can see why. Because, like I said, it's not for everyone, and I think a lot of times the Tonys like to get the ones that can have that more mass appeal in their winners. I say this as a completely uneducated Tony person, just someone who saw the play, but judging on the reaction from the audience, this play is a hit with crowds. It was packed. This is the most packed I've been at a show there in a while. I had all the seats next to me filled, which as a slightly bigger guy is a little bit disappointing. You're just secretly hoping the chair next to you is open, but it wasn't. But I gotta be honest, my first introduction to Beetlejuice the musical was in 2023 when it made news that U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert got escorted out of a performance of Beetlejuice in, I believe, Denver, for her and her companion were reportedly accused of vaping, singing loudly, recording, and groping each other, which there were videos circulating and it made news just at a regional performance of Beetlejuice. I will say, as far as musicals go, it's one of the less wholesome musicals. A lot of raunchy humor in it from Beetlejuice, who not quite to the creep level of Michael Keaton's role and the original role. But hey, if you're going to grope someone in a musical, may as well be Beetlejuice. I'm going to go over just a few key differences before I get into the musical as a whole. I'm not going to go major spoilers. I'm not going to give away some of the jokes, the bits that were fantastic. You got to go see it and just take my word for it. But if you don't want to know any of the key differences, there'll be time codes down below. Like always, you can skip ahead. One of the main things is that the musical opens up at Emily Deese's funeral, so Lydia's mom, Charles' wife, and Lydia singing like a little bit of a ballad called Invisible, about how you're invisible when you're sad and just how she feels. Then it kicks right into Beetlejuice. We get Beetlejuice right off the bat. We don't need to wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes like we do in the movie. Again, I'm probably exaggerating, but that's how it felt. And like I said, that opening number, the whole being dead thing, is fantastic. Your introduction to him and the character and the Maitlands is fantastic as well. Beetlejuice already kind of lives in the house and is hanging out and keeping an eye, just waiting for them to die. And he's kind of narrating as it's about to happen. In the movie, the Maitlands die by swerving their truck to avoid hitting a dog on a bridge, crashing off the bridge, drowning in the river. In the original Broadway, they die by falling through the floor in their house. But in the national tour, they die by having a lot of extension cords plugged in together and plug in one more in together and electrocuting themselves and dying that way. So that is a different take on it. Another one is the theme of kind of family and not, like I said, not feeling alone or invisible. Lydia's feeling disconnected from her dad, like he wants to disconnect her dead mom. She sings a whole song about her dead mom. It's literally called Dead Mom, which, like I said, Madison Mosley, fantastic performing that song. Like one of my favorite songs of the night and of the show. But there is kind of like a redemption arc of her and her dad, like reconnecting and just finding each other again and kind of dealing with their grief a little bit. Beetlejuice's mom is brought into it as well. Ortho is completely different, and I don't want to spoil what his role is in here. But Delia is the other one that takes a drastic departure from the movie. Delia is a life coach that was hired by Charles to help Lydia with her depression following her mother's death. She is very over the top and clearly has her own depression and trauma and issues that she is dealing with, which is explored a little bit on there. Her song, I think it's just called No Reason. Yeah. It's no reason. That everything happens for a reason, but things are just random sometimes. And so the number with her and Lydia is a lot of fun, gives her character a little bit more development and backstory. But I enjoyed that change that they made for the musical. Something I thought they definitely would change, but they didn't, was Beetlejuice and Lydia getting married. I thought maybe that wouldn't happen, but they do it in a way and make jokes about it that it works. And you're just gonna have to trust me. There's a whole song that is literally called Creepy Old Guy, about Lydia marrying a creepy old guy. So it's very self-aware. They know what they're doing with it. But this musical is just a lot of fun. This cast is fantastic. Some of the highlight songs for me are going to be the whole being dead thing, which I called out at the beginning. And then I really enjoyed Dead Mom. Madison Mosley's performance of that was fantastic. So good. I really enjoy Fright of Their Lives, which is when Beetlejuice is trying to get the Maitlands to scare the family and train them up on it. But I like it for a lot of the dialogue that goes back and forth and the actions that isn't necessarily in the cast album. So you got to go out and see it. And it's Say My Name when Beetlejuice is trying to get Lydia to say his name. One thing they do well in the musical is they clearly identify the rules for saying Beetlejuice. It's a live person has to say it 3 times and they have to say it uninterrupted. It's not just saying it 3 times in general. So they make that a little clean. And then I also really enjoy Barbara 2.0 in the second act, which is Barbara Maitland just kind of having this awakening and how she's not the version she was before. She's a new person and just a new attitude and wanting to take action and do something. And Adam does as well. So one thing I will say, for me, the first act of this musical is a lot stronger than the second act. The second act is still solid. It wraps the story up nicely. It puts a bow on it. But the songs in the first act and just the pacing and the story, the first act works better for me and is definitely the highlight. There's still a lot of really fun numbers in the second act, but just something I thought I would mention. Now, I'm going to leave it there for my thoughts on this. It's just, I can't speak more highly of Justin Collette and Madison Mosley. Like I said, 2 of the best performances I've seen on stage through my tours I've seen, and even just like concerts. Like, these people work the stage, work the crowd, interacted with each other, had like what felt like just great chemistry with scene partners, and we love to see it. This is an extremely fun musical. It is a comedy. It is catchy. I think it is one of the better musical adaptations of a non-musical movie. When I reviewed Back to the Future, I said that's one that the set design and everything was a lot of fun and really added to it. And one of the most impressive uses of the set, especially on a national tour that I had seen, but none of the songs were really memorable. This has a really fun set. Yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles like Back to the Future did, but it still has a really fun set. There's a lot of really neat work done with the set design on it. The music, the lyrics, the book, everything is fantastic with it, and the performances are amazing. So do yourself a favor, go see Beetlejuice, the musical. Now, I said I was going to talk a little bit at the end here about non-musical movies that were adapted into musicals, or that received musical adaptations on stage, however you want to refer to it. I think it's one of my favorite genres of musicals, and a lot of them are in the same vein. Like, I have a list of some here. We got Bring It On, which I mentioned I didn't know existed previously, but Lin-Manuel Miranda did Bring It On, the musical, with Tom Kitt. There's a Catch Me If You Can musical. Tim Minchin wrote a Groundhog Day musical, which I haven't checked out much, but I love Tim Minchin. He did great work in Matilda, adapting that. So Matilda, another non-musical movie that was turned into a stage musical. Spam-A-Lot is a musical adaptation of Monty Python's The Holy Grail. Shrek the Musical, Legally Blonde. Hairspray was originally a movie that was not a musical. Waitress, Mean Girls, Beetlejuice, and Heathers. And there's a lot more, but those are just some of the ones that stood out to me. Some of my favorite, if I'm picking my top 5, Beetlejuice is up there. It's going to be Heathers. It's going to be Beetlejuice. It's going to be Waitress. It's going to be Mean Girls, the musical, the stage version, not the movie version. The only good thing the movie version has going for it is Renee Rapp as Regina George. That's not fair. I also like Jaquel Spivey as Damien and Ali E. Carvalho as Janice. So it has a decent cast going for it, but cuts, new arrangements, I hate in the movie version. But the musical stage version is a lot of fun. How many was that? Heathers, Beetlejuice, Mean Girls, Waitress. And for my 5th one, I think I've got to go. Hairspray is fantastic, but I honestly think I've got to go Shrek just for how much I love Who I'd Be from that. I know one shining star song in a musical is not enough because I can't really tell you another. Their Story of My Life is another song in there, but those are like the only two that I can call out from Shrek the Musical. But Who I'd Be is just so damn good, and I love it so damn much. But I really enjoy that genre. I'm excited. Like I said, I would go see this again tomorrow. That's how good it was. That's how fantastic this cast was. So go do yourself a favor, see Beetlejuice. Next week on the pod, you're just going to need to stay tuned to see what happens. The plan is for La La Land to be our movie review this month. That will be the final episode of the month, though. So next week, I think I'm going to cook up something a little bit fun. So stay tuned. As always, like, comment, follow, subscribe, share. We're keeping it short and sweet tonight on this review. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's not going to be the most in-depth review that you see, but I had fun with it. Hopefully it encourages more people to go out and see this show. I don't think that's a problem. People are flocking to it. Like I said, one of the fullest I've seen the theaters in a while. A lot of fun. Justin Collette, fantastic. Madison Mosley, fantastic. Whole cast, fantastic. See Beetlejuice the Musical. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, share, all that fun shit. Stay tuned. Another episode of The Last of Us, my initial reactions on season 1, drops as bonus episodes on the pod on Saturday. So those are working up to the season 2 drop. Those were my initial thoughts after the episode aired. I came in, recorded, put it out there. So check those out. They're on all 9 episodes are on our YouTube now. If you don't want to wait, if you're binge watching, you can check it out there. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.